Hey guys, welcome to a quick video about food, specifically food you take out camping, hiking, etc. Now food was one of those things which for me was a fair bit of trial and error, taking some things, seeing if they work. I definitely went through a few miserable hikes and camps because the food I had was either too heavy, didn't taste so good, didn't sit so well, etc. But over the years I've come to a pretty good system, and I just wanted to share with you my experiences. So I'm going to run through food basically from breakfast, lunch, dinner, then some snacks, and then some kind of things I don't carry with me anymore, and why those, and for what reasons. First and foremost though, things you want to take into consideration when planning your food is number one, allergies. So if you're allergic to gluten, nuts, what have you, don't want to be taking food which will bring on those reactions. Make sure you check the ingredients, because the last thing you want to do is get sick out on the trails. Definitely not a pleasant experience. Secondly, also think about the hike you have, how many hours you'll be hiking a day, how much food do you really need, how long you're going for, things like that. It's very easy to take too little food or too much food. However, that will mostly come from experience as well. But definitely have a think about it and learn from your last trip, how much food you had, if it was too little, too much, etc. And lastly, the size and weight. So you don't want to have half your pack, both in volume and also in weight, filled with food. So you want to kind of be as economical as possible. Take light food and food which doesn't take up too much space in your pack. In saying that, let's see what we have here. We'll start with breakfast. So for breakfast, for me, I usually camp in the colder months, so something which warms me up is definitely a favorite of mine. For me, those are noodles. They work quite well. They're nice and easy to prepare, and they're very, very light. Now I used to go with these noodles in a bowl. You can see it's quite convenient because it already has the ball in there. You just pour the water, wait 2 minutes, and away you go. But I found that the packaging really isn't as economical as I had hoped. It's also quite easy to get crushed, and once the bowl is crushed, it's only styrofoam, there's a hole here, you can't use it anymore anyway. So I went to these noodles. So you can see they're in much more kind of packaging, much more like a brick, so they take up a lot less space, they're much easier to pack. And in my cooking system I have a bowl anyway, so I just use that. I can, for the space that one of these takes up, you can see I just bring over my little lunchbox which I carry my food in. You can see that the space that one of these takes up, I can fit 2 if not 3 of those. So definitely that's one of those things where they're both noodles, but I'm thinking about how much space it's going to take up, and also the rubbish afterwards. This will generate more rubbish which I have to carry with me afterwards than these will. I have a drink as well. I go with the kind of sachet stuff. I do like sweet things, so from here, for example, I'll have a caramel cappuccino or a hot chocolate. Again, nice and light, doesn't take up too much rubbish. Going on to lunch, I'm a fan of tuna. I can just eat tuna plainly out of the packaging. I don't need crackers or anything like that. Again, that's me personally. You can see this isn't canned tuna. I love this tuna not only for the packaging, but it tastes really good too. Comes in different flavors. This is the extra virgin olive oil, and once again, doesn't take up much space. Very, very easy to pack. You can see how much space 3 tunas take up. Very light, and the rubbish it generates is next to nothing. So definitely a fan of getting these kinds of tuna rather than the canned tuna. For dinner, I go with a continental rice. So it's nice, it's simple, it's very filling. I am a big eater, so I do enjoy dinner which fills me up, and for me, I found this to be excellent. Really, really, really good. The packaging again doesn't take up much space. I bring everything down and I can fold it over, and you can see this is my dinner. And once again, it's quite a substantial portion. It doesn't look like much, but once you start to boil it, the rice absorbs the water, and obviously it comes into a pretty big portion. So this has been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed taking these with me for dinner. Snack wise, personally for me, chocolate's the way to go. I've got a bar of chocolate here, but I've used the kind of little Nutella sachets. Mars bars, especially little fun sized one, things like that. Just little snacks which will keep that energy going, especially if you're hiking around mountains, long treks, etc. Can't go wrong with fruit either, bananas, apples, what have you. Generally trying to eat them as soon as possible. Another thing I don't have here with me is sandwiches. Again, trying to keep your food as fresh as possible. Take fresh food with you as much as you can is for me definitely the way to go. I try and keep things pretty natural without too many chemicals, additives and preservatives, etc. So, which brings me on to the things I don't take with me anymore. I have made the mistake of taking canned food with me. Yeah, it doesn't taste too bad, but it weighs a lot and also generates a fair bit of rubbish which you then have to carry out with you. I carry everything, my rubbish in like just simple, I've got one over here which is meant to be a little bit closer to me, rubbish bags, and then maybe 1 or 2 layers. But this being metal, it's got sharp edges. I found that it tends to cut this, whereas all this packaging, it doesn't really damage the bag, so it's actually much easier to carry that rubbish with you. So I'm not a big fan of canned food unless you're doing car camping, something like that. The other thing I'm not a big fan of is the kind of, I've got the backcountry here, but the kind of dehydrated meals. So yeah, you might get roast chicken with vegetables, gravy, mashed potatoes, all that kind of stuff. But if you turn around, you've got emulsifiers, stabilizers, all this. You can see all the different numbers on the back. It's basically a chemical factory. And although it might be okay as a one-off if you're doing 2, 3, 4 nights and you're living off these things, for me it was not a good feeling. So I definitely try and stay away from these things, especially for dinner. I just go with the rice. In terms of how I carry my food, just a nice simple soft lunch box, so definitely not a hard plastic one. Just simply because I can crush it down as I start to go through my food, and again it takes up less space and it's really nice and light. And you can see again, if you think about your packaging as well, how much food you can fit in there. So I've got 2 breakfasts there, I've got 2.5 lunches. I usually have 2 tunas for lunch, so that'll go in there. I've got 1 dinner in there, some drinks, some snacks, bananas or soft fruit I usually carry on the outside, and you can still put another dinner on top, a few lunches. There's actually plenty of space in the lunchbox, okay, to go with. It's not even starting to stretch it out at all. And this is a small one. I've got a slightly bigger one, so you can easily fit 2 or 3 days food into something this big, which doesn't take up too much space and weight in your pack. I mean, no joke, this whole thing is almost the same weight as the can itself. So you can see by thinking smart how much weight and space you can start to save yourself. So guys, I hope this video has helped. Once again, food for me was something that required a lot of trial and error, and it's going to be no different for you guys, especially with quantities. But I hope this has given you some ideas. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But enjoy your hikes, guys, and thanks for watching. Bye.